Hello
Hello
there.
there. Welcome back to Star Wars in a Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. Today we have episode number 57. We are going to be talking about Darkness over Umbara, the General, Plan of Dissent, and Carnage of Krell, and we have a very special guest with us today. How are you doing, Nessa?
I'm doing great. I'm here to talk about clones.
That is what we are doing. Yeah, I'm super excited. What was this like? I think this was like 20, 30 episodes ago. You were like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally want to join you for Umbara," and we're like, "We'll see what we can do." And here we are. We are
We
recording
are.
Umbara. And yeah, we were talking a little bit before the recording. This is going to be quite a episode filled with hot takes, you could say, because Nessa and Jacob are both huge fans of this arc, and I am not. So, yeah, I
It's
want to make this
treason,
perfectly
then.
clear before we start this. I don't hate any of these episodes. I just don't like them as much as most people do. Not all Star Wars is for everyone. My Star Wars tastes tend to be a little weirder than most people's. But we'll get to that. And I'm not a huge fan of this arc, but there are still, I try to be very optimistic in my pursuit of Star Wars, and there's still quite a bit to like in this arc. So should we get into this?
Darkness on Umbara. In the first episode of this incredible quadrilogy, we see Anakin leading the 501st into a battle on Umbara. They take heavy casualties and make their way through the mist, but unfortunately, Anakin is called back to Coruscant by Palpatine, and he is replaced by the infamous General Pong Krell, who is known for his high casualty rates. And he means business, you know. He's not super friendly to the clones, but they make their way forwards. There's some airstrikes, a lot of battles, and it actually may be the only episode where the last shot is a battle scene.
Our fortune cookie is the first step towards loyalty is trust.
It's so funny because I actually, like, right before, like in preparation for recording with you guys today, I was actually listening to an earlier episode, and of course my mind is completely blanking now, but trust kept coming up there as well.
It's possible. This is a big theme in a lot of the
Yeah,
Clone Wars.
Yeah.
it is.
It
And I
is.
feel like it's really important to address that with the clones as well, because obviously the episodes you guys were discussing were the first arc with Padme's ex. I can't remember his name now. All of a sudden.
Clovis.
Clovis. Yes.
Oh.
Alden.
Was that the episode with Alden Diaz?
Yes, it was.
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
wonderful.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
We love Alden here.
yeah.
Alden's a great guy.
It was a fantastic episode too. Like, I was trying to do work and I ended up just like closing everything and sitting to listen.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
But I think it's really interesting to bring up that concept with clones, because we see it with the Jedi, we see it with Anakin, we see it with Padme. But like a lot of the time, the perspective of clones in terms of trusting each other and trusting others outside of the clone culture bubble doesn't get addressed very often. But I feel like in the Umbara arc, we get to see that in like the most intimate of detail. So I
Absolutely.
really like this like addressing of trust.
To me, it feels almost like this episode was kind of setting up Order 66 a little bit, you know? I feel like this episode really established, both in Anakin's presence and his absence, how Anakin and also, I think, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan are on one end of the spectrum of how clones get treated by different Jedi. And then Pong Krell is, of course, all the way at the other end, where he's super nasty to the clones. And I think if we can assume that most of the Jedi fall somewhere in between these two examples, it makes sense that I think, despite the inhibitor chips, a lot of the clones didn't have too much of a problem with Order 66, even after the effects of the chips wore off. So I thought that was interesting. That's how I chose to interpret it. But
Yeah.
I think, too many clones just didn't trust their Jedi, and this kind of shows why.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you get to see, even with Jedi who are, like ones that we would prefer, like, or, favor. Luminara is one I think of all the time. And, she's supposed to be this exemplary Jedi, like somebody that we could look up to. Yeah, quote unquote exemplary Jedi.
Rafa
But we
Martez
see
might have something to say about that.
it's exactly what I was going to bring up is like Rafa, she gets to see from an outside perspective how Luminara's actions could be perceived as callous when other Jedi might laud her for her behavior. And we see it with Barriss as well, when she's so ready to be like, well, Barriss died, and like move on.
Yeah, it's the will
So
of the Force.
yeah, it's the will of the Force. So her, like even these so-called great Jedi taking this very same perspective to clones, it would color how they would perceive that person. So it was really funny. One of my questions that I wrote down while I was is the 501st spoiled in terms of like their interactions with their Jedi? Like, are they considered to be like, oh, you're real lucky if you end up in the 501st? So there's all these different balances and dynamics you see where it's not good or bad in any complete perspective, but for clones, they're being set up to inherently distrust their own generals, despite being trained to listen to them completely.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up, because it's like, I always think, because maybe the 501st are spoiled. Maybe that is something that's happening with them. But what I think of when I think of the 501st, I remember several times reading in reference books and all that jazz about the 501st being one of the most elite clone squadrons in the Republic, and later the Empire too, because in Legends at least they get transformed into what's called Vader's Fist.
Vader's Fist, yeah.
And it's like, are they spoiled? They could be conceived as spoiled, but like there's also like a trade-off to that, because you have to be at X level of clonemanship to be in the 501st to begin with.
Clonemanship.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting that you bring it up. Knowing what I know about the Clone Wars, I would say that maybe they're considered spoiled, and that's part of the reason that the clones have a problem with the Jedi, is that most clones, maybe, as we're kind of finding out as the Clone Wars unfolds, most clones aren't getting the kind of treatment where their generals are out front. They complained in this episode about Krell bringing up the rear rather than Anakin, being out front, saber blazing, fighting with them, trying to protect them.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll know by like one of the future episodes, Carnage of Krell, it's not that he can't fight, it's that he's choosing not to. I want to bring up, because it's gonna come up sooner or later for me, I want to bring up Vietnam, because I feel like you cannot talk about Umbara without talking about Vietnam. Because Star Wars, one of the most idiotic arguments I've seen online recently is that Star Wars is not political. Star Wars is so inherently political, it's not even funny. And specifically Vietnam, George Lucas was growing up in like the Vietnam times when the Vietnam War was going on, and the whole idea of a supposedly technologically inferior force destroying a supposedly technologically superior one with the rebels and the Empire was inspired by the Viet Cong and the United States. And this arc to me is specifically, I was telling this to Jacob yesterday. Every time I saw something that was said on Umbara that could have been said in Vietnam, I plugged into my notes the opening lyrics of Fortunate Son, just to remind myself, hey, here's Vietnam again. It happens over and over and over again. I wrote down the Fortunate Son thing 10 times, 12 times. A massive empirical force. The Republic eventually turns into the Empire, invading a planet that they don't really have any business being on, the Republic has more success than the United States does, but still, you cannot deny the parallels in that regard.
I mean, yeah, even just considering like the tactics that are used in the very
Yeah.
first episode, like you can't see the enemy. They, like stay close. There may be booby traps everywhere. They could have this whole place trapped.
And then they just
And-
bring in the Y-Wings to carpet bomb everything.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
brutal.
It is,
And
I think... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay. I think, well, yeah, I'll come back to what you're saying, but yeah, I think also, in terms of the brutality of it, it's so interesting how quickly the clones become so callous towards the Umbarans. We see one of them, like their helmet is broken and they're struggling to breathe, and then the clone just puts a gun in their face and pulls the trigger. And I think another thing, if we're talking about this in parallel to the Vietnam War and maybe other more modern wars, we have to consider how the Imperial force is imperial in terms of like imperialistic rather than just the Empire in Star Wars. Is so easily othering the people that they're fighting against, to the point where they're like committing horrible acts. I think you see a little bit of that here.
Absolutely. And actually what I was going to say relates to what you said, and I was going to point out how they're committing atrocities, but at the same time we're being asked to feel bad for the clones without any kind of like consideration for what they're doing to the Umbarans. So, like you said, pointing out these horrible things the clones are doing. I think specifically Rex says that one still has some juice left in it.
Yeah, and then he shoots him.
And then he like shoots him 3 times and he's like, not anymore. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Or the part when it's one of the noob clones, I can't remember who, but they just kind of go crazy and start just shooting the wild animals that are flying by. And he's like, you want some more? He's gunning them down. Yeah, hard case.
Yeah.
I thought that was very disturbing.
One of the things that I'm going to... Here we go. One of the things that I'm going to critique about this arc relates exactly to that, and I brought this up while I was like in my notes about this. I want to hear about the Umbarans. Why are they supporting the Separatists? What is motivating them against the Republic? We never get any context about that, and it makes the arc feel extremely hollow to me. Now, you can make the argument, and I'm sure the argument's going to be made, the Umbara arc is not about the Umbarans. It's not about them.
No.
And I totally respect that, and I totally see that. But it's still, like, we get a very similar... This is another critique about it I'm going to bring up. Like, Umbara always in this way reminds me of Geonosis in Season 2. We get this very... and this is, by the way, another reason why I could say that Jacob probably likes it more than I do. It's ground battle, the grittiness, the open warfare type of thing. But with the Geonosians, we see, they have this entire underground society in the catacombs. I was going to say Temple of Doom, which is Indiana Jones. Legacy of Terror.
I can feel like a Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
That's actually in the that episode we did on Indiana Jones and the Progate Temple. So that was not on accident. At least the Geonosians, we get to see their society. We get to see their ways of that they're going to fight back against the Republic, mostly with the brainworms. Umbarans, they're just people who are shooting at them the entire time, and it's like, okay, yeah, sure,
yeah,
they're the enemy, I guess, but like,
I think
we're
I would
really fighting.
I think I would point out that... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that it's definitely one of those moments where you really have to look back at other episodes, because I was sitting here and I'm like, why did this happen? And I realized I had no idea like why Umbara was even invaded, because I was like, well, isn't one of Palpatine's aides actually Umbaran, Sly Moore?
Yeah.
And apparently all of this kind of loops back to those episodes with Medici. There was an Umbaran senator who was killed in another episode.
To me, at least, it felt very intentional that we didn't really know a lot about why this was being fought or about the Umbarans. And I think throughout the entire episode, we never really get we never really get a specific reason why the clones are even on Umbara, like they don't, it seems like they don't know. The most we get is the narrator at the beginning,
just shadowy world of Umbara.
yeah, the Shadow World of Umbara, where they're fighting for this crucial planet. Like, why is it crucial?
Yeah. Why is it crucial?
Yeah. Like all they
Also,
say is like aligned with the separatists. Like that's the only reason we're really given.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, this is, I think, if I'm correct, one of the first arcs in which the clones are not fighting against droids. And I think this is different than the Geonosis arc because, you know, in Geonosis, I feel like the
They were
Geonosians
fighting
are kind of
against
made out
droids.
to be monsters, but they're also fighting against Geonosians, and they're like, oh, these are these crazy bugs. Look at them, they're carrying off the clones. Like, oh, they're gonna go eat them or something. Oh my gosh, like look at them, they're gross. They even talk about how they smell bad. But in
Yeah.
here, it really kind of.
I mean, if you're living in a catacomb all your life, of course you're gonna smell that.
I don't know. I just
But
feel like
even in
Phase one
Geonosis,
to it now.
they fight droids like the entirety of landing in Point Rain. The only time where clones fight droids in this entire arc is on the supply ship at the end of Plan of Dissent.
yeah.
That's the only time they fight droids. I actually gotta say, it was kind of relief to me. Like when I saw them fighting droids, I'm like, there we go.
This is how it should be.
This is good. This is back to regular. One of the biggest comparisons of this arc that I'm going to make, and I'm gonna try and restrain myself here because I like the following media better than I like Umbara, but Jacob is going to vehemently disagree with me. But that's just a risk I'm gonna take. I take it all the time, so that's totally cool. One of the biggest comparisons I constantly make is I constantly compare Umbara to The Last Jedi. There's a lot of comparisons to Last Jedi in Umbara. They're both extremely dramatic. They're both extremely, like, for example, one of the first immediate connections I make, there is a point, you know, because Fives joins the clone crew on this arc. And Fives, we gather, is not a critical part of the 501st. He is put there because to help Rex with strategy. And we assume Anakin with strategy. But really, Fives is there to raise the tension between Rex and
foil.
Krell. Yeah. Fives. And it's like, it was, to me, like why in Last Jedi, you know, if Rey or Leia or Poe, not Poe, if Rey, Leia, or Finn was with Poe on the Radis with Holdo the entire time, that wouldn't work because Finn, Leia, or Rey would get Poe to lower the temperature with Holdo. But having nobody there to do that, Poe and Holdo really do get at it in The Last Jedi because Poe is that hothead with no one to stop him. And so I kind of saw the parallels there. Yeah.
I like that parallel because, you know, I feel like that too shows that there's a diversity in clones as well in terms of like their willingness to comply, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of seeing how, especially with, harkening back to what we first talked about with rookies, with Five showing up there for the first time, and, you know, like getting to see how he has grown into being a very dynamic, individualistic ARC trooper, to the point that he's butting heads with the guy who saved his butt. So it's just interesting to see like how all of these, how each clone interprets a situation differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like really get the sense that they're individuals, and that's something I love about this arc is how much that is emphasized, and we see it, and it's not just a binary either as it goes on of we gotta kill Krell, no, we gotta remain loyal. Like it's actually everyone has their own take, and they have real qualms and conflict.
You can see Tup wavering throughout this arc, which actually I just realized probably foreshadows season 6 quite a bit, where Tup literally wavers between two sides because of the inhibitor chip activating prematurely. One of the things I want to point out about this arc, just while I can, that's a minor gripe I have with this arc. I was watching. I don't know. I reference this series of videos a lot. I don't know if you've seen all of them, Nessa. I don't know if you've seen all of them, Jacob. The honest trailers.
A
So
couple.
I was watching the one for the one that came up was the one for Solo. Get ready for one of the darkest Star Wars movies ever. I'm like, what are you talking about, honest trailers? And then they're like literally one of the darkest Star Wars movies ever. You can barely see anything. This is one of the darkest Clone Wars arcs ever. I mean,
so
literally. You can barely see anything half the time.
That is a problem. That is honestly kind of a problem for me watching it. It makes me mad noticing just how many fingerprints and little pieces of dust and schmutz there are on my screen. I'm just like, oh no, make it stop, make it go away, please.
Being forced to confront your own reflection while watching Umbara.
Yeah, exactly.
Was Dave Filoni making an intentional choice with
right? So can I bounce back to you mentioning Tup? Because I feel like that's a really good additional factor in terms of you bringing in Vietnam. Tup is a child. Like, I believe he's considered to be like one of the youngest active clones. And you can actually see his inexperience. Like, remember when they are flying in for the first time to land on Umbara? Tup is actually holding on with both hands in the ship. And they're like, hey, you doing okay? And he's like, yep, I'm great. So you can tell.
Right,
I mean, they're all technically kids, but like, okay.
Well, yeah. But yeah, like, so you get this extra factor of they're rushing to produce clones. They're rushing to get clones on the battlefield. And they're clearly compromising in terms of quote unquote quality when it comes to getting clones out there battling. And I think that's also why we get Hardcase. And because I think of, and when they were talking about the Bad Batch, they're like acceptable mutations, useful mutations. But at what point is Hardcase's hyperactivity actually beneficial, or is it a detriment? And I feel like we get to see a little bit more of like the cracks in the veneer in terms of producing clone troopers and producing clone troopers rapidly for a war that is just like spiraling out of control.
If we're talking about Dogma, I think also it's interesting to see how he has less experience to the point where he is the one wanting to press on when Rex and the other more experienced clones, the OGs, want to rest. And then Rex ends up, or Fives ends up saying like, hey, the captain gave you an order. Like, this is not an option. You have to rest. And I think
Rex actually does that. It's because Anakin gives the order.
Oh, it's Anakin. Oh, I got messed up. Yeah. Definitely, sure.
Which is a magic moment, in my opinion, for a couple of reasons. First of all, we see how giving Anakin is and how loyal to his troops Anakin is. Which really, because you know intellectually that Anakin's a much better general than Krell, but they wanted to hit that point home. So they really tried to include an example there. Second of all, I will say this. I'm not a huge fan of this arc. Dogma's character arc is brilliant. Is maybe my favorite thing about this entire arc. I went into this because I didn't remember much of this arc, to be completely honest. I went into this, one of the only things I knew from the outset was that Dogma was going to be the one to kill Krell. But then seeing that, going in knowing that Dogma was going to kill Krell at the end, was a beautiful thing for me, because you really see it is a twist that is unlike some other twists in this arc. Spoiler. It was a twist that was magically manufactured because they didn't drop too many hints about it. Everything that Dogma did was in direct opposition to the idea that he would kill Krell.
Yeah.
As opposed to some other arcs that were, in my opinion, set up a little too well, but we'll get to that.
But I think, in my mind, that shows how much of a struggle he went through, and how maybe the reason that he was so loyal to Krell and having to follow the orders super by the book was because he was one of the fresher clones.
Mm-hmm.
And he was younger and he didn't have as much experience, so he didn't know where to draw the line. So he just thought, I gotta stick this out. I gotta do everything I can to play it safe, play it by the book.
You can actually see a reference to that in that exact scene, because Anakin then turns to Rex and says, he reminds me of you, and Rex says, maybe in the old days.
Yeah.
So Yep,
That's a
you know, like,
I missed that, but yeah.
yeah, there's that little reference to like how much Rex himself has grown through experience and through working
Yeah.
specifically with Anakin.
Yeah. One of the best examples of Rex's growth, by the way, is a little episode called The Deserter. Let's talk.
I love that episode.
says Eli, trying to shift dramatically from the clone episode that he doesn't like to the clone episode that he does. That is my favorite episode of the Clone Wars. So,
it's a good choice.
I've never seen a more hated character online, like a more unanimously hated character than Pong Krell.
I mean,
there's a couple other ones. There was another one I was trying to think of. There was another one that gets hated almost as much as Krell, but I forget who it is.
I feel like that says something.
Commander Fox, maybe.
Poor Fox.
Yeah. No, there is an entire there is an entire subreddit that I'm not going to name right now, but it's dedicated to hating Pong Krell.
Let's just say it's called F Pong Krell.
I think it's FU Pong Krell, but okay.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't doubt it. I mean,
yeah.
Look, I knew he was bad news from the moment the camera panned behind him, and we saw that weird half ponytail, half man bun hairdo that he had. Yeah, make up your mind, man.
Questionable hair choices make the character.
Even the clone can pull off the man bun better than he can. I think it's Jesse who has it's Tup. It's Tup.
It's Tup. Yeah.
It is Tup. Oh my gosh.
Tup is our little Rapunzel clone.
Oh, how does he fit it under his helmet though?
I've always wondered.
Don't ask these questions. One of my biggest gripes with this arc, for me, is the things that are said that never get explained. Now, look, I'm not going to go all full, like, lore junkie here and say every single little thing from an arc has to be explained. I just want some, like, of the major things. For example, why does Anakin have to go back to Coruscant? Why is it so urgent that Anakin needs to go back to Coruscant?
I've always imagined that Anakin gets to Coruscant, and the Jedi Council's like, what are you doing here?
Oh my gosh, imagine.
Yeah.
Like, Krell just made it up and showed up, took over, and Anakin goes all the way back to Coruscant, and they're like, aren't you supposed to be on Umbara?
Well, if that happens, then why wasn't Obi-Wan so... Why wasn't Obi-Wan so weirded out during the numerous holo calls he has with Krell in this arc?
Krell does mention that the orders came directly from Palpatine.
Yeah, I know, but like, what's
but
so
like we
urgent?
need more.
Yeah, I'm very my thing is here's the only nugget of anything that I could pull out. There was a video made by a Star Wars YouTube channel called I'm not sure if either of you familiar with this channel, The Lore Master.
I may have heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
Used to be known as Fact Free.
Okay, maybe I don't know.
They make informational videos about stuff. Anyway, I do remember them making a Legends video. I think this might have been Legends. I don't know, about Anakin and Palpatine using Anakin as being like a poster boy for the war.
Oh, definitely.
And it was mentioned in that video. I'm sure it's from some Star Wars source that Palpatine would drag Anakin out of battles that he wanted the Separatists to win, and then put Anakin front and center at the battles that the Republic was going to win. So my conclusion was Palpatine wanted Umbara to be a Separatist victory.
Yeah.
And let's face it, for 90% of the arc, it looked like Umbara was going to be a Separatist victory.
It did.
And so my only thought was that Palpatine did not want Anakin on the front lines when Umbara got absolutely lambasted by the Separatists.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, I would add that...
That's my only explanation.
And it only switched tracks when the clones broke Krell's rulebook and went back to Anakin's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that does beg the question then of, did Palpatine know anything about Krell? And I have to assume that he didn't, because Krell said, I'm gonna go and tell Count Dooku what I did. He's gonna be so proud of me.
Yeah.
Oh, Krell. Poor guy. Little do you know.
Child. Oh, you sweet little child.
That's the most naive thing of this all. He really doesn't know how the Sith work.
No, not at all.
We'll get to that.
Well,
yeah.
in fairness, how many Dark Jedi does Dooku take on as his apprentice during the Clone Wars? By the way, in Legends, how many Dark Jedi does Dooku take on as his apprentice during the Clone Wars? The answer to that question, take the number of Dark Jedi Dooku apprentices in canon and multiply that number by about 2.5.
Wait,
so, like...
So it's a lot, I take it.
It's 6 or 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dang. Wait, and all during the Clone Wars.
All during the Clone Wars. If we're looking at the old Legends comics, Quinlan Voss, Tolskor, Ventress, Grievous, Oppressed doesn't exist. There's a couple other ones.
He's just collecting them. It's like Pokemon.
Dooku, Thanos, and the Dark Jedi are the Infinity Stones.
Just gotta.
There's another one. There's another one. You know, it's like if you thought in canon Palpatine's disregard for the rule of two just went out the window. In Legends, it's a completely other story. Palpatine's like, rule of two, I never met her. It's kind of ridiculous, mostly because a lot of the media was written before the rule of two existed, but we're gonna ignore that one.
Yeah.
Not a lot of it, but some of it. Phantom Menace.
Wait, that was...
Really?
That was the first time. Wow, I just assumed
the
it was
reference
so much
stuff
older.
from the Phantom Menace, yeah. Yeah, by the way, let me I wanna talk about 3 words that can summarize this entire arc for me.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna end the end of this quote is it. The very first line Krell says to Rex. I find it very interesting, Captain, that you were able to recognize the value of honor. Here we go. For a clone.
Yeah.
That for a clone summarizes the entire arc. It's the calm down Anakin of the Umbara arc.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, jeez.
it is ironic considering that it becomes his downfall, Pong Krell's downfall, that he can't estimate, or I guess he always underestimates the clones.
Yeah.
Even as he's completely fooling them, it ends up becoming his downfall, nevertheless. Which I think is super cool.
Also, here's another thing I want to mention about another small gripe with this arc that Jacob mentioned earlier. Krell's effectiveness rates. They're really high, apparently.
Yeah.
We're told. I guess we're just supposed to take people's word for that. His effectiveness rates are also high. Exactly how high? Who knows? Who cares? You know, it's like I'm supposed to just take this. It's like you know, it's I don't know. It just feels like, you know, making a comparison to this again, The Last Jedi. Holdo. Wait, is that Admiral Holdo? Battle of Chiron Belt, Admiral Holdo? We get a name. At least we get a name.
Yeah.
Poe is impressed with Holdo's performance at the Battle of Chiron Belt. That's all I know. That's all I care. You know what I mean?
I feel like that's kind of a staple in Star Wars, though. I mean, it happened in New Hope, the Clone Wars. The heck are the Clone Wars? And then in Revenge of the Sith, you know, the Outer Rim sieges. We don't know anything about that until we actually address them in the last season of the Clone Wars. So I feel like that's a pretty common thread for them to be like, here's a name drop. We'll tell you about it in 10 years.
Yeah.
I want to see the Battle of Chiron Belt. I want to see Jacob, you know what I'm going to bring up? That time on Cana Nemoidia, the swarm of Venomites on Draboon. I also want to see the Battle of Anset Island, where Janna and her troops stop firing at the civilians, which sounds like a Jakku en masse for Finn. By the way, Anset Island is an anagram for Staten Island, where Chris Terrio was born. Fun fact.
Wow. And where is that reference from?
Res Skywalker.
Oh.
Yeah. I want these references. I also want to know how the heck Krell is effective at winning so many battles. But that's just me.
Yeah, I feel like it's supposed to be some kind of commentary, because you hear Fives later say, like, yeah, his casualty rates are more than anybody. So I feel like it's supposed to be this small little commentary that isn't perhaps fully completed about how effectiveness and success sometimes equates to like significant loss of life, but it doesn't matter when it's clones.
Yeah. I also just like, even with that, I'm like, oh, it's higher than anyone. Is it really higher than anyone? Is it like a per battle thing? Is it as a whole? How is it higher? Again, I'm still find myself wanting these details just because I don't know. It lessens the power of Krell. Like, you know, if he was just a bad general, then, you know, we could make some conclusions based on that.
Yeah.
But apparently he's a very good general. How good? You know, who knows how good. On the track to, I forget exactly where they're going. They're going towards the capital city. Yes. I forget that they're even marching towards the capital city in this first episode. I forget about that. They come upon some just random creatures that they have to fight.
Yes.
Which is like, I'm sorry, this entire arc was written by Matt McNevets, but that was a Filoni edition. I'm sorry, that is a Filoni edition. Dave Filoni is obsessed with random creatures flying in and messing up everything. If he wasn't,
it does happen several times during
literally everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think that's another kind of interesting touch too, to mention that, how do I want to phrase this? That even like the world itself is its own kind of like microcosm. Like the battle isn't going to go smoothly because like there's a battle happening. Like other stuff is going to happen simultaneously. And especially with them being in an unfamiliar environment, they don't know what they're walking into. They don't know what's on Umbara. And that too is kind of like, did you guys just like throw clone troopers at it and hope for the best? Like, was there any actual plan with Umbara? Or was it just strategic?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't know what's going to happen in Vietnam. Umbara.
Oh.
Shoot. This is my problem.
Yeah, but it feels like we see that so much in Star Wars of kind of the themes with nature, and maybe not just the man versus man type of storytelling. You know, you got these guys and you got these people and they're fighting each other, but also the natural element kind of coming up and messing it up. I'm thinking of maybe the Thrawn and the space whales, or the space slug.
I'm thinking of the Zillo Beast.
The Zillo Beast. Yeah.
That's a big one.
So it's not without precedent.
But then again, that is turned from a humans versus creature thing to a humans versus other humans thing. So like, pretty quickly, I call it the Godzilla episode, the Godzilla arc that is not a Godzilla arc.
It's true though. It's their kaiju arc.
It's Godzilla, but the focus is not on Godzilla.
Yeah.
Which is, by the way, why I love Star Wars so much, because it takes something like that, and it totally turns it on its head. Speaking of actually, good segue here, speaking of turning things on its head, I'd like to talk about Krell and clone trooper names. CT7567. Are you reading me? So what I love, this is one of the things I genuinely do love about this arc. This arc, here's how I'm gonna do this with. I'm gonna connect it again to this movie right here, The Last Jedi. We're talking about one of the biggest things that's mentioned with The Last Jedi is deconstruction of Star Wars tropes. This is a deconstruction of everything the Clone Wars has been trying to build to this point. What is constantly pinned down, like hammered down to us? The clones are more than just numbers. They're people. They are people behind the helmets. What is the first thing that Krell does? He reduces them back to another disposable CGI army, as honest trailers would say. Their Revenge of the Sith.
He dehumanizes them.
He completely dehumanizes them. He literally deconstructs the themes of the Clone Wars, and he deconstructs the clones literally themselves.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating stuff.
I think it just shows, like, when Krell, he ends up saying to Rex, "Do you have a malfunction in your design? Like, are you reading me?" He just talks to them like they're not even
they're
human.
droids.
Yeah.
He dehumanizes them. Yeah.
which is
Because he
one of
doesn't
my
say it's like a defect. He doesn't say it's, like, are you made wrong? It's straight up saying like you are built incorrectly.
yeah,
Yeah.
because as much as he will admit in Carnage of Krell that he does not care about working with the Separatists, place him with a Separatist army and he would have more success than with a Republic army.
Absolutely.
He
Absolutely.
is one of the things there are a couple things. First of all, I would have loved to see like if they ever do. I know Marvel right now is currently doing they're doing an animated What If series on Disney Plus. I cannot emphasize how much we need that with Star Wars.
I think we're getting one, aren't we?
No, I don't think we are.
Oh, maybe that's my bad.
If we are, I would freak out. I would freak out if we got one. But I don't think we are. You might be thinking of Visions, but I don't think that's What If.
That's it. Yep, that's not you are correct.
I'd be freaking out if it was.
I would be too. Like I was like,
yeah. A What If I want to see is a Separatist General Pong Krell.
Yeah.
I want to see him commanding droids because at the end of the day, droids will work better for Krell than clones will.
Yeah.
Because droids, I'm going to give a massive asterisk to this because Jacob will ramble on about Battlefront Society, and he may have a point to that one. But if you give battle droids an order, they will follow it. Mostly. The Clone Wars actually...
They might complain.
The Clone Wars does the most to contradict that, but let's just say mostly. This is one of the great ways that, in my opinion, the Umbara ties back to the Deserter in this way. And Grievous Intrigue, the whole the low power stuff that we were talking about. That clones have that extra drive, they have that extra purpose. An army with no loyalty, no spirit, just programming from Grievous Intrigue. Cut and Rex have an entire conversation about names in the Deserter. The Kaminoans won't give you names. Maybe names are something you should pick yourself. Maybe you should try and pick your own life for yourself,
Yeah. I think one thing that I just thought of is how the only time I think when Krell refers to a clone by their nickname is when he's talking to Dogma when they're both imprisoned, and he's saying, "Dogma, I was relying on the blind loyalty of people like you," and I was like, wow, what is that all about?
He's needling.
There is one other time that he calls a clone by name, and it's Oppo.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh,
yes. Yep. So, and I feel like at that point, he's treating it like a reward.
Yeah, yes, exactly. That's what I was missing.
Yeah, so because Oppo's sitting next to him, obedient. He's not like, we should go help them. Like, he's like, do you want us to send people in?
Yeah.
And he's just like, no. But he calls him by name. And he also gives him a title. He calls him Sergeant.
Sergeant.
So, yep. Do you want my hot take?
Yes.
Oppo is my one in literal millions. I hate him.
There's so much. That is the perfect segue because Oppo is the clone that he gets promoted to commander and he accompanies Anakin into the Jedi Temple to kill everyone during Order 66. Which I think is this is just the perfect foreshadowing for that.
It is. It really shows that when it comes down to it, and again, it comes to that spectrum of clones. There are some clones who have learned to question, who have learned to embrace their kind of own agency and individuality. And there are other clones who take loyalty to mean a lack of individuality. So I feel like Oppo really kind of embodies that in terms of he may have his own thoughts, but he doesn't let them out. He never shares them. He does not discuss his own perspectives other than coming up with solutions that benefit the Republic.
Hey everyone, do you remember that Maul survived death a couple times? Remember that? How bad is that? I know, right? Says Eli, not trying to awkwardly segue into one of his one in a millions. Yeah, okay. That's become as old as I don't know, Terra Sanube or something.
I guess something that I want to bring up is that I think that the idea of trust, which we're going off of the first step to loyalty is trust. In this very first episode, we always talk about how this is the clones having to trust the Jedi, but I think also you could look at it as going the other way, and I think it goes both ways. Pong Krell, I think part of what the episode does to draw the distinction between Pong Krell and Anakin and how they command, even though Anakin is also reckless, is that Pong Krell is furious when Rex disobeys orders and retreats to save clone lives, whereas Anakin, I think, also probably would have trusted Rex to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And still, like, he would know that Rex would do the right thing and still get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like that's an important balance, too, is, like, Anakin isn't giving them, like, completely free reign, like, do what you want, it's going to be fine. Like, it's an earned trust, and it's mutual, I feel like, to a certain point. But, like, there's that distinction between, like you said, the Jedi trusting the clones. Rex has proven time and again that when he makes these choices, when he goes against what maybe somebody else would suggest, he still gets the end result that they're looking for.
Jacob, why don't you just rattle off the summary of the general? I'll go Plan of Dissent, and Nessa will go Carnage of Krell, just all in a row.
In the general, we see Pong Krell continue to domineer the clones. He orders them down this canyon, and he orders them twice, I think, in this episode, into a no-win situation, into head-on confrontations, and again, the clones just get their butts kicked, and they're getting more and more frustrated, with Pong Krell, and eventually, I believe it is Hardcase and Fives who decide that enough is enough. They're tired of being butt kicked by the Umbaran's superior technology. They infiltrate the Umbaran air base. They steal two TIE fighters, not TIE fighters. They steal two Umbaran starfighters.
Hey, people do steal TIE fighters in Star Wars shows quite a lot.
That is true. TIE fighters are very, very theft prone. They steal the starfighters. They make their way back, and they obliterate the enemy giant walker tanks. And what do you know? Pong Krell is furious, because of course he is.
Well, the Krell actually is like, okay, fine.
Yeah. I mean, he's furious.
I'd rather you wouldn't, but like, okay, fine. In Plan of Dissent, Krell orders a tighter defense of the airbase, and Fives, Hardcase, and Jesse decide to go out and infiltrate an Umbaran supply ship. No, it's a Separatist supply ship in one of the captured Umbaran starfighters, and they do that. It's a crazy ambush sequence. They get out alive, except for Hardcase, who sacrifices himself. Live to fight another day, boys. Live to fight another day. And then when they get back, wouldn't you know it, Krell decides to court-martial them for disobeying orders.
And then in Carnage of Krell, we actually see...
sorry. Whoops. The good one.
So we actually see a little bit more of that agency seeking from the clones. Rex tries to protest the court-martial of Fives and Jesse, but unfortunately it doesn't do anything because Krell doesn't care. So we get to see the clones kind of like progressing through orders and then ultimately going against said orders. We see Dogma prove his loyalty and the boys be like, kid, just slow down. But then we get what is by and far the most heartbreaking moment of the Umbara arc, where Krell Krell orders the 501st out into battle with Umbarans who are wearing clone armor, only for us to find out that said Umbarans are actually the 212. And we lose one of our darlings, poor Waxer. Yeah. We love him so. But yeah, and then everything goes wrong for Krell.
Yeah. And, yep. And he dead.
Yep. And he dead.
Also, I will tell you something. So I was watching this in the Clone Wars rewatch, and of course, immediately afterwards, I watched Zygeria, which is the next arc we're gonna cover. Boyle is with the crew on Zygeria, and there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing there. No one says anything about Waxer to him. I'm like, what are you
Oh,
doing? You just
yeah,
lost his
that is.
like, you know,
That's
like
like the
the Woody
his
just lost his
buddy.
buzz. You know,
Like he's one of those like
it,
Waxer and Boyle are two of those clones that like in my head personally, and I know this sounds really ridiculous because they're all clones, but in my head they're twins. So like they're
oh,
just
I
like a
see what you
match
mean.
set.
Yeah,
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 Yeah. So like for me that's like Waxer and Boyle, that's
yeah,
Fives and Echo, that's Kix and Jesse. Like there's just these sets that seem unbreakable, but then when the break happens, nobody says anything.
I know.
yeah. Buzz just lost his Woody. You know, Han
Yeah.
C-3PO just lost his R2D2. Let's get to the general first. The path of ignorance is guided by fear. I don't know. It's pretty cut and dry for me. The clones who remain loyal to Krell do it because they're afraid of him.
Yeah, I mean, I like this fortune cookie. I think this also could apply to Krell. I think the reason he goes to the dark side is not because he really dreams of being a big scary Sith Lord, but maybe because he is afraid of being on the losing side. As we see him say
Yeah.
later on.
I'm glad we're addressing this now, so I can tell you both. One of the things I dislike most about this arc is Krell's turn to the dark side. I think Krell's turn to the dark side is maybe one of the worst written twists in the Clone Wars. In my opinion, it feels to me. We'll get to this when we get to Carnage of Krell. He had a big scary vision that the Jedi are going to lose this war, and he decides immediately to turn to the dark side because of that. Sure, I guess. Here's the thing. I'm not faulting his decision for that. I'm faulting the writers in this case because I feel like for all the reasons of somebody to turn to the dark side when the Jedi are like messing everything up possible in the prequel era, they go with he had a big scary vision.
That's fair. But I mean, that's the exact same inspiration for Sifo-Dyas to make the clone troopers.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's part of my problem with it. Maybe that Sifo-Dyas did it already, A. And B,
Fair.
Sifo-Dyas didn't turn to the dark side, did he?
No.
And Sifo-Dyas didn't have a vision that the Jedi were going to lose the war. Sifo-Dyas had a vision that there was going to be a war, and that the Jedi would need an army.
This is true.
You know, it just doesn't work for me. I don't.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, it's bad, and if you disagree, just screw you. But like, I understand it. I understand that it can work differently for some people.
That's fair. I think it's one of those points where we just needed like 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
Like 5 more minutes to. But at the same time, I don't feel like it completely detracts because we're like the whole thing about the Clone Wars is we're not seeing everything. Like we're just getting snippets. We're getting all these little like partial stories that make up a bigger fabric.
Yeah.
And I feel like not knowing what exactly drove Krell to do this makes him that much more terrifying because you're just like, who else could this happen to?
Yeah.
Like who else could like experience the same kind of like, well, this isn't working, just decide to like.
What I'd love to see, and I agree that we don't need to see everything. Jacob and I were making another point on the Galaxy episode with Boba Fett that we were recording a couple weeks ago. I'd love to see this. This would increase my appreciation of this arc by like 50-60%. Let's get a comic, one comic issue.
Yeah.
With a past Krell. We don't need to see his entire fall. We just need to. I want to see what Krell was like when he was younger, so that then we can make some contrasts. What's different? How did Krell? What were the buttons that were pushed in Krell that caused him to feel this way? What was always true about Krell? What was always true about him? Because for me, it's like, we don't know how much of this Krell planned out. You know what I mean? We don't know how much of this whole like clone massacring thing Krell really planned out.
Yeah.
And so that lessens the impact for me just because it's like So did Krell know all along he was going to be put on Umbara? Did he know all along that the clones were going to be difficult? Did he know all along that this was going to be the battle where he finally makes his turn? How long ago was this vision? How long ago did he start making these plans? Maybe Admiral Holdo can tell me, since she's obviously so good at that. No, that's just an in joke I make. When anyone has a plan, I just go, Admiral Holdo, what's going on here?
Also, to the validity of said vision, like, was it actually a vision, or was it Palpatine being like, "This guy's next"?
Yeah.
Move this one on the chessboard.
I can just now imagine Palpatine just like, it's like the stuff with the Night Sisters in the in Massacre, that episode of Massacre, which we actually haven't gotten to, but when Palpatine places the voodoo doll of Dooku into the pot, I can just imagine those mannequins on like an assembly line. It's just like, this one's gonna get a vision, this one's gonna get a vision, this one's gonna get a
He's just got visions lined
up.
Yeah,
just cranking out. Absolutely.
Welcome back to your boy Palpatine's Vision Factory.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I think that in terms of the vision, I think something that we learn about Krell through this is that he is fundamentally fearful in how he interacts with the world.
Yeah.
And that's what differentiates him in many ways. It's the root of what differentiates him from the clones, where rather than trying to redouble his loyalty to the Jedi or talk to Yoda, he has this vision. He's like, well, I'm jumping ship. The Republic's gonna collapse, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna hang out with Dooku. Little does he know that the Separatists are also gonna fall apart. Like, I don't think he doesn't understand what's really at play here.
Yeah,
but I think it's interesting.
Though again, like, nobody does. It's like Maul in Phantom Apprentice later in the Clone Wars.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Maul has that vision. Maul's vision, of course, is stuff's missing. Always in motion in the future is the future. How much do we have in influencing these visions? With Anakin in specific, Anakin is the reason that his visions come true.
Self-fulfilling prophecy, boy.
That is.
I like that you brought up, this idea of like loyalty versus loss, in terms of like loyalty is only up until one's personal like hurt or risk of hurt. Because one of the notes that I wrote down was that like the loyalty that clones have to the Republic completely supersedes their own self-preservation. Yep. Like, they have no point, except for cut, where they're kind of like, okay, this is too far, and I'm not obeying the order. There's plenty of talk in this arc of like, this is too far, it's unacceptable, I can't believe he's doing this, but the boys still march. Like, they still go out and they do it. And I thought it was interesting because at one point when Rex and Fives go off to kind of like argue, and Rex is like, I really need you to help me get the boys to listen, you hear the clones in the background complaining, and one of them says it's going to be a meat grinder down there.
Yeah.
And that says to me that like the clones have a vernacular for this. Like, this isn't new. Like, going into these like bloodbath situations, the fact that they've developed their own like specific linguistic reference for that kind of situation, but they're still doing it anyway. Like, they're not like, okay, we're not going to do it, let's go tell them we're not going to do it. They're like, oh, it's going to be a meat grinder, guess I'll just go in.
That is what is, for the people who control the clones, both, I think that's what's both great about the clones in a morbid way, and also what's horrible about the clones is that they will do whatever they have to. They will do whatever it takes.
Yeah. There's a line from Attack of the Clones when Lama Su's describing the clones to Obi-Wan. They're totally obedient, obeying every order without question, I think is the line. it comes back to what Krell says, which is not completely false, by the way. They are designed, they are built a certain way.
Mhm.
Now, does that way always work out for them? Does that way always work out for the Republic? Does that way always like work 100% of the time? No. But does it still like, are they still built that way? Yes.
Yeah. And I think that too also kind of reflects, again, that like spectrum in terms of like clone agency. Because even those who are protesting, like there's Rex who's kind of like, okay, but we're going to do it. And Fives who's like, no, we really shouldn't do this. But like, even then you're seeing that undercurrent of like, no matter how angry they are, instead of being like, no, we're not going to, they're just trying to find different solutions. So that loyalty is so like intensely and perfectly drilled, and I would almost say brainwashed into them, that there's no other option. Like, no matter how upset they are, they're still going to do it.
I also want to point out a couple smaller things. When they're infiltrating, when Fives and Hardcase are infiltrating the Umbaran airbase, if Battlefront II is still having live service, can we get that as a map, please?
Please.
I want to play that.
Yes.
Hey, EA, Battlefront 3, thank you.
Just Umbara. Just give us all of like. Give us Clone Wars planets.
Give me
Umbara. Oh my gosh.
Also, I want to play on gosh darn Exegol, please. It's my favorite Star Wars planet. Give me Exegol. I want it. You had an entire Rise of Skywalker content drop. You gave us Ajan freaking Kloss where there was never an entire battle in the entire movie. Be quiet about your Rise of Skywalker content. It was bad.
Yeah, I mean, that would be so amazing, I think, and now with more and more modding.
Yeah.
I think it would be amazing one day to see like some kind of a crowdfunded Umbara map project, or even on the original Battlefront 2, and then you don't have to make so many like high fidelity textures and whatnot. That would be, oh my god.
I'm sure there's an OG Battlefront 2 Umbara map. I can't imagine how there isn't. The modding community for that game has gone like off the rails.
I would also really like Anaxis, because like all of the all the glass that's apparently there, like the entire, it just makes me think. My wife has been playing Final Fantasy the remake, the 7th remake, and like watching Cloud crash into stuff and generally destroy his entire environment just by existing, like that would be me on an Axis, like running a clone trooper through a bunch of glass.
On that same token, if we're talking Bad Batch, Skako Minor.
Yeah. Yes. There's so many opportunities.
Give it to us.
So many good ones.
Or this could be done really easily via modding for the new one. Season 7. Give us Clone Wars Martez Sisters Arc era Kessel. Thank you.
Ooh, that would be fun.
We have a 1/4 portion segment coming up, which is like a top 5 thing. I'm seeing now my biggest mistake for prepping for this episode is not doing top 5 maps you'd love to see in a Star Wars Battlefront game.
Yeah.
Bring back ground-to-air combat and let us fly in an Umbaran starfighter on Umbara. Thank you. I also would like to get a low-hanging fruit in here. We've not mentioned a lot of low-hanging fruits. Let's talk about. I prefer a good fight to all the sneaking around, which is said by Fives in the general, and is also said by Han in A New Hope.
Really?
We'll also touch on this later, but the entire sequence when they're testing the Umbaran starfighter is ripped directly from A New Hope on the Death Star. Everything's fine here. We're fine here. How are you? Who is this? What's your operating number? Who is this? What's your CT number?
Yeah.
Negative.
I literally watched it yesterday.
A reactor leak.
Yeah. It kind of annoyed me at first when I was watching during that scene when they were like, and you just noticed how bad the clones were about lying. They're like, everything's fine. But then I realized they're bred to be that way.
Yeah. Like, even telling a lie to a general is a straight up, like, breaking of their programming. And it is programming. I mean, we see it when Obi-Wan is on Kamino. All of those young clones sitting at row after row after row after row of just, like, a computer, basically, with the headset on, staring blankly. Those kids don't even look up when they walk by. So, like, there's obviously this element of just, like, brain rewiring. So, like to lie to a general is something that seems so wrong, and they can't do it right.
If the Kaminoans saw that, they would not be appalled because the clone that they would be upset at the clones. They would be appalled at themselves because they would be like, "What did we do wrong here? How did we program wrong here?"
It would be a matter of like we did something wrong. How do we fix the system? And then they would just toss the clone in the garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's again, if we're talking about ignorance, Krell is super ignorant in that we get a whole sequence in this episode that I absolutely love of Fives and Hardcase, two of my favorite clones, working together, kind of bickering, bantering, but doing what they gotta do. And that whole sequence, when they're just showing a ton of courage, creativity, initiative, it's everything that Krell thinks the clones can't do. And that ends up becoming his downfall. Like he's just too arrogant. He just can't fathom.
It's a reverse clone cadets.
That a creature grown in a vat could possibly outsmart him.
It's reverse clone cadets. It's the clones work together as a unit to succeed as a group, and instead of in clone cadets that being their ticket out of there, it's punished.
Yeah. I feel like that almost could loop back again to our fortune cookie. The path of ignorance is guided by fear. I feel like maybe there's this note in Krell where, recognizing that these are beings, like you said, grown in a vat, could they really be smarter than him? And like there's a part of him that's like, if I just let them be unique individuals, like what will they do to me? And I feel like that there's kind of like this link, I want to say like I'm not afraid of artificial intelligence, but I know plenty of people who are. So there's that kind of like, this isn't a natural living being. What is it actually capable of? So Krell kind of looking at the clones like that maybe and just being like, well, I need to control them perfectly. I'll dehumanize them. I'll make sure they don't have room to rest. They don't have room to eat. That they're always like at a disadvantage when I am in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think part of Krell, all of Krell, because like there's a line in Plan of Dissent, jumping a little ahead. I do think his desire for victory has blinded him to the fact that there are lives at stake. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that'd be true if he considered you living.
Yeah. And I really think Krell does not.
No,
like,
he doesn't.
The clones and just these more droids. They just happen to have skin.
Yeah. Again, it's why I want to see a separatist General Pong Krell. Hot take here. I view Krell's death the way I view Ben Solo's death. Would it be cool to see an alive Ben Solo? Yes, I think it'd be cool to see like who survived on Exegol. Mm-hmm. Do I think it was necessary to kill Ben Solo and the rest of Skywalker? Yeah, I do. Do I think it was necessary to kill Krell here? Yes, I do think it was necessary to kill Krell here. Would I have killed to see a separate General Pong Krell? I would have. Yeah.
Yeah, there's that line between like what you would love to see and what you know is best for the story.
I think a little trivia in this episode, we get Sergeant Oppo, obviously, maybe for those who don't know, a reference to Appa from Avatar The Last Airbender. I've been getting into that show recently. I haven't completed the first season yet, so no spoilers, but I'm getting close, and man, is it good. I can't believe I've missed out on that for so long.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I would also like to shout out Plan of Dissent before we get fully into it. Plan of Dissent, bravo for using one of the worst parts of the Phantom Menace in an integral part of your plot. I love the Phantom Menace, but Anakin destroying that droid control ship is one of my least favorite parts of that movie, and they have to use it. They have to. General Skywalker blew up a droid control ship when he was just a kid. Okay, try not to mention how your leading general was such a Mary Sue when he was 9 years old. Please, thank you. Thank you.
I do have to say, though, like, I love the thought of Anakin sitting around a campfire with his clones, like, well, when I was 9.
Yeah, I mean,
I love the Phantom Menace. I love that movie. I hate that part of that movie.
Yeah. The crazy thing is that the type of ship that the clones destroyed in this episode was originally intended to be a Lucrehulk class Trade Federation ship, the same as the one Anakin destroyed, but they changed it because they wanted to differentiate. They wanted to differentiate and show that the Trade Federation wasn't fully on the Separatist side until Revenge of the Sith. So I mean, it could have been even closer. Yeah.
Wait, that reasoning doesn't make sense.
I know, but that's what it is. That's what Star Wars. That's what StarWars.com says. So
Jacob pulls up the StarWars.com episode guide. I'd also like to point out another Easter egg while we're here. They're operating in Hangar 9-4, which is the name of the dock, which is also the number of the docking bay that the Millennium Falcon is parked in New Hope. There's one more that I'm sure you know. In Carnage of Krell, when they confront Krell and decide to arrest him, Krell says a certain line. It's treason, then. If you don't know where that reference comes from, I'd like you to leave right now.
All good, I know.
I'm talking to listeners. I know you know. I'm sure you know. I actually literally wrote in my notes. If you don't know where that's from, I'm sorry, we can't be friends. Like that, I literally wrote that down. I'm like, just out of here, Yeah. Plan of Dissent. The wise man leads, the strong man falls. I have no idea what this fortune cookie is about, so I'm very excited to hear your thoughts.
My immediate thought is about, obviously, like Fives and Rex. And we've talked about it a couple of times so far, about how there's this difference in their approach. Especially with Rex, being a clone captain who has grown into like a more, I keep wanting to say diverse, but intellectually aware clone.
Grounded.
Yes, thank you. And then Fives, who, as an ARC trooper, they receive training that specifically encourages them to be more individualistic, to be more dynamic and creative in their thinking. And, I think this is kind of referring to maybe the unexpected character has the right point of view, in that Fives is the one who's constantly telling Rex, like, you need to push back. You need to do something. You need to disobey this order. And he's saying it from the perspective of, like, for our brothers. Like, you need to actually do something. And Rex is like, I can't. Like, he feels almost trapped by it. So
if we're looking at, like, the symbolism here that I'm looking at, Fives is the angel on Rex's shoulder, and Dogma is the devil on Rex's shoulder.
Which I think is really interesting with his name being Dogma.
Yes.
Just saying.
Dogma keeps Rex from doing anything, but Fives keeps Rex from feeling okay about himself.
Yes.
When he does not do anything.
Yes. Like, I feel like there's that reminder, like Fives is almost serving as a reminder to Rex, like, you're not this, not anymore. Like, what Dogma is, you have grown out of that. And you need to, like, keep growing. Yeah,
what Dogma is, you've grown out of that. How you went through an episode called The Deserter, which is the last time I mentioned this in this episode. And by the way, that is... Yeah, I was about to say, this is the last time I mentioned that in this episode. And I'm totally saying that's not the last time I'm mentioning this in this episode. 100% not.
Oh,
yeah.
I will say this episode, I believe, is the source for one of my most commonly used GIFs. The hard case.
Oh, yeah, the hard case wiggle. That is such a classic.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but okay.
So there's a GIF where he is...
Yeah, like, at one point he's like, we'll take the stuff.
Yeah.
And I also love... Let me just flash back to the whole Fives talking about the worst part of Phantom Menace. When Fives does that, the Binary Sunset theme plays, which is, by the way, too unfair. You're talking about one of my least favorite parts of a Star Wars movie, and you're playing the theme that is most frequently gets me to cry. That is not fair. Thank you, Kevin Kiner. Get out of here. Sorry. Done.
It's like they knew, and they're like, okay, we gotta use really important music.
This happens too much.
Eli will not believe us at all.
This happens too much in the Clone Wars. They do something unforgivable to me, and then they play like Binary Sunset, I'm like,
Yeah, and you're just like, oh my gosh.
Now I
Like,
have to.
you have to.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
do this, don't you?
It's pretty wild. Watching how Krell kind of makes everything seem like it's the clone's fault. Like he says, lock down those fighters. I don't want excuses. I think I remember at one point when the clones maybe they want rest, but he says there'll be time for celebration later, and he's always just kind of shifting the blame. It's so subtle, but it's so infuriating.
And it's
Yeah.
done in
nuts.
such a way that I feel like he's trying to make the clones question themselves.
Yeah,
That
I do think
they're
that.
like, oh, are we really acting that way? Okay, we won't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And it plays specifically to clones like Dogma, which I feel is actually the majority of the troopers.
Yeah.
Because,
Oh, yeah.
like at this point, most of them are just, they're shiny, like Tup.
Yeah.
And we see that influence with Tup too. Like, so, I have mixed feelings about Dogma. He
Yeah.
fascinates me, but I feel like he preys on Tup a little bit with Tup being so young, so inexperienced. There's that whole scene of him like, we have to tell the general. Don't you realize that? Like, we have to do this.
Yeah.
And Tup is kind of like, okay,
Especially-
yeah, I guess you're right.
And he puts I think is that the scene when they're when they wake up and they were asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's he puts the emphasis on we have to tell the general too. Like he's so
Yeah.
sneaky about the way he does it, and oh my gosh, that's just really well done.
Yeah.
But also, I think something that Krell does really well is he makes the clones doubt each other,
Yeah.
and so they don't want to stand up because like Dogma, they don't know who is going to put a stop to it. They don't know who's going to be the one to rat them out during this plan of Dissent.
I don't know who's going to be the snitch.
Yeah. My thing about Krell, again, I agree with everything you're saying, both of you. I have a little gripe with Krell in this. This is I think this is my last real huge gripe with this arc. I think they plant that Krell's a bad guy a little too well. I think there's a few too many clues. It feels to me like, there are different ways of doing a twist. This feels like it. This doesn't feel like oh wow, really? It's like, we've done 4 episodes of this. He's evil? Yeah, duh, he's evil. I mean, if you haven't taken away something by this arc at the end, it's that he's evil. It feels to me that like they almost plant the seeds too well. Unless I will say there's an argument I think that one of you might make, which I think is an invalid argument, which is that yes, we know he's bad, but we don't know that he's that bad. That's the only thing I can think of.
Maybe. I feel like maybe there was this effort for an element of the clones not realizing precisely how bad he is, and maybe we were supposed to sympathize with that. So, like, the clones obviously realize he's not great. Like, he's going to ruin a lot of things for us, and for most of us, that means we die. But I feel like there's that element where the clones don't know about the dark side. Like, they don't know about the Sith. So I do agree it could have been done better, or it could have been like less like the veneer. Like you're supposed to be like, ooh, is he? And instead of just owning it, like he is a bad guy.
Yeah, if we got a hint or two in one of the episodes, like if we got a specific thing, like Krell like doing Krell on a hologram with an Umbaran, or maniacally laughing to himself, or like just a little something.
Attempting to actually contact Dooku.
Yes.
Like some little thing. I could see
something like that. It's a little thing like that that'll be like, oh, so he is actually the bad guy, and now it's not a Krell is really weird. Why is he doing all of this?
Or won't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, it is a Krell is a bad guy. How long is it going to take the clones to realize that?
Yeah.
It's a ticking clock thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, either the clones are going to realize it, or Krell's going to destroy them all.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it works if you know that ahead of time. But, thinking about watching it for the first time,
We needed to find the clock. Instead, right now,
Yeah.
all we have is a ticking noise happening in the other room, and we don't know what's up.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
true. Yeah. So should we talk about the hard case sacrifice?
Oh man.
The boy. The
Wow.
boy.
Such grit. Such grit. I understand why Jacob loves this so much. Such grit.
Honestly, yeah, like hard case, he's in what? So he's in this arc, and then he's in the Deserter, and like that's it, right?
Yeah, he really
Need to check now.
doesn't
Let's just
have
check.
much.
And like, but he has such an impact.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? Yeah, but he dies a hero. That's what he does.
He does. He does. He
Um,
absolutely does. And there's a lot of similarities between like his death and Heavy's,
Oh yeah.
where like Heavy straight up is just like, I don't, about like taking prisoners. And
Yeah.
then Hard Case is making a very similar sacrifice.
Yeah.
Wow, you
With
were
the-
on
Get out of
it,
here.
by the way. Wow, that's impressive.
I love Hard Case.
appears in Hard Case appears in 4 episodes, and they're the first 3 of Umbara and the Deserter. Nice
Yep.
job. Very, very nicely done.
Wait, he appears in the Deserter?
He
Yeah.
He
What?
does.
He's
Wow.
actually
Yeah.
there during the entire bit with Cut.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, isn't the Deserter so great? It features Hard Case and the Star.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like one of the best episodes, if not the best episode.
I do love
I'm just,
it.
Let's
I'm
not
just
go on,
riffing
though.
about
Let's
that
not go
episode,
on.
which is just like holy. If there was any indication, I'm just gonna say this: if there was any indication that Dave Filoni was gonna be one of the great Star Wars storytellers, it is the Deserter. That's my pitch.
I can respect that.
Yeah. I mean, he later proves it on and on anywhere, but like everywhere. But if there's any indication, yeah. I also, by the way, let's point out something. Hardcase dies on the mission to hijack the supply ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So out of the 3 clones that went, 2 survived. That is a 66.67% survival rate, which is probably still a higher survival rate than Krell has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Probably.
But I think there's something to be said for the fact that, as I think the clones have been talking about, as Fives has been talking about in these episodes, Krell is just throwing away the clone lives. They're not it's not necessarily a worthy sacrifice.
Yeah.
And it's hard to ever call something a worthy sacrifice, I think, if you're ordering other people to walk into their certain death. But there's something about the way that Krell does it that just makes it all the worse.
Yeah, it feels like Krell has this mentality of like just keep throwing stuff at it until it falls down. And it's however many clones it takes until like there's a dent in the armor. Like he doesn't care about the number of lives that are attached to that success as long as it happens.
Speaking of Krell's trying to make a dent in the enemy, if I ever hear the phrase "full forward assault" as much as I hear it in Umbara, I'm going to throw something. This arc has legitimately made me hate that phrase.
It doesn't feel like real words anymore.
It's just like I'm like he just goes full forward assault. I'm like again. Oh man. Yeah. Should we go to Carnage of Krell?
Let's talk about how the clones getting stuff done and achieving the results that Krell wanted was an act of insubordination.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I also want to point out something I love in both these episodes, in Dissent and Carnage of Krell. Rex taking back charge. One of the best insecurities that Krell exploits is Rex's about being a leader. Because Rex doesn't get to do that much in this arc, because Krell's kind of doing the bulk of it for him. But when Dogma and Tup go to confront Krell, he gets a stand for a moment. He gets going back to this film for a second, Last Jedi, and its predecessor in this case, Force Awakens. I'm in charge now, Phasma. I'm in charge. Rex's standing firm to dogma felt like an I'm in charge moment to me. It also has that very commanding thing of the whole
it's captain.
It's captain, yeah.
Yep.
I was gonna go with you were always scum. Yeah. Rebel scum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of that quite a bit from Last Jedi, and I appreciated that. Okay, seriously, this time, now should we go on to Carnage of Krell? Sorry, to the interesting one. Okay. Our actions define our legacy.
This is one of those really nice kind of like blanket fortune cookies.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think that
it could cover everything.
It is a bit. It is a bit of a truism, but also I think that Krell it kind of is trying to say, put your money where your mouth is. At the end of the day, like, you may know what you stand for, or you may feel that you stand for something, but unless you actually put that into action, no one else is going to know that, and your legacy is going to be entirely different from what you imagine it to be. Mm-hmm. And I think this is really about Rex, with him ultimately having to make the tough decision.
Yeah.
Oh, for me it's about
to disobey Krell in the beginning of the episode with the firing squad. But it could also be about later in the episode. So.
I was going to go with Dogma. About Dogma has been supporting Krell this entire arc, but his actions aren't going to tell you about that. His actions are killing Krell, are snuffing that insert mean word out of the galaxy.
Yeah, and I feel like that too kind of opens up this idea of legacy isn't always a good thing. Because like, what if you think about it, considering the place that clones have in the galaxy, considering how people treat and talk about clones, there's going to be those people who are like, yeah, that's that clone who killed a general. And then there's going to be those clones who say, yeah, Dogma took out the general that was killing us. So there's those like facets of what a legacy actually is. But I do agree with you. This feels very poignant for Dogma. In terms of his behavior up until this point has been very much like in line with the Republic, in line with regulations, in line with orders. But like that last behavior is what Dogma ends up becoming kind of known for.
Yeah. This whole stuff with Krell and the clones reminds me of a line from I think it's Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Harry Potter is something I bring up a lot because it's one of the only other fandom that I'm into besides Star Wars. If you want to take the measure of a man, notice how he treats his inferiors and rather than his equals. Sirius Black says that to Harry in Goblet of Fire. We see how Krell treats his inferiors. And that is the ultimate measure of Krell in this arc. Anakin, at least for now, until Anakin kind of goes off the dark side end,
dark side.
Values his clones as individuals and as soldiers, and that is the ultimate measure of Anakin. Krell is whole idea, that song, Another Brick in the Wall.
Yeah.
You're just another cog in the machine. Or as some Star Wars movie that I'm not going to mention says, they win by making you feel like you're alone.
Seeing all the different, legitimate tortures that Krell puts the clones through. I mean, the firing squad alone is absolutely horrifying. Just seeing all of these clones, and just thinking about, who is in that lineup. Because I know, obviously, Dogma's there, Rex is there, but then they have Kix in the lineup for the firing squad. Tup is in the lineup for the firing squad. And then I think Appo's there too, maybe. And then, one unnamed. But, again, going back to, my match pairs. Kix and Jesse. they are always together. Like they're always like doing missions together. They're always like chilling in the background together. And you have Jesse against the wall and Kix in the lineup to fire on him. And then you have Cup, who is a literal, they're all children, but like this is his first mission, and he's being put on a firing squad for his superior officer and an ARC trooper. So there's that additional element of like, if horror. These guys could go here and like, and horror, like if like this could be me or this should be me. Like, does it matter who is actually up against the wall, or does Krell just want us to hurt each other? And then he proves that with that absolutely horrific throwing the 501st against the 212th with the lie of it being Umbarans and clone armor.
Yeah. That moment is my that scene is my favorite scene of this entire arc.
I feel like it makes the arc.
It makes the arc better for me, let me tell you. It makes the arc not completely useless for me. We are firing on our own men is one of the most shocking and it is a better twist than Krell Darkseid.
Agreed.
Even though it is planted, it is hidden in plain sight for us.
Yeah.
Like, Krell literally says they might be dressed up as clones.
Yeah.
And I knew that they were clones. And it was still, I've watched this arc now for my rewatch and for In a Galaxy twice now. I had to snooze through the first 2 episodes, but I got to this. It is one of those jolting moments.
Yeah.
So
and
jolting.
Like, it's the thing where you can see where you should have realized, because like when you see the Umbarans, their suits have a gas in them. So like, how could they wear clone armor?
I actually have an answer.
Really?
An answer for that one. This is something Jacob brought up in a previous episode, foreshadowing this episode. That gas is not actually breathing related.
Oh.
Jacob, I know you still don't believe me on this one. It's not breathing related. It's combat related.
So you think it's like a performance enhancing type of thing?
Yes, it is. It is meant to amp up their reflexes and like just overall stamina.
I could see that. I mean, especially with there being other Umbarans, like the Senator, like Palpatine's aide, who don't wear those helmets.
Yeah, and notice, by the way, like, it's a small detail. When the Umbaran's helmet is shot off, he is not gasping for air. I mean, he might be a little bit, because the gas that is keeping him energized is now fading, and maybe it like fades from his body a little bit, but he's not actually gasping for air because it's not air.
That's fair.
So,
that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. I will also say, here's some, we all know how much I love the poetry and the rhyme and the stuff. Yeah. Here's some crazy stuff. When Rex and the clones march up to the base to take out Krell. Mm-hmm. The first image that immediately popped up is replace Rex with Anakin, and you got the Jedi Temple right there.
Yeah.
And we're ready for some inverses. Good clones versus bad Jedi. Revenge of the Sith, bad clones versus good Jedi.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
It's the Revenge of the Sith parallels with this arc are chilling. This arc for me is where we start to get from the Attack of the Clones Clone Wars to Revenge of the Sith Clone Wars.
Yeah.
It is,
Absolutely. Yeah. And just, oh my gosh. This whole episode, I don't even know what to say that isn't already apparent, but it's mind-boggling. Especially the first part with, it had to be Waxer.
Waxer, man! Waxer! Oh, it hurts me.
Ever since I first watched the Ryloth episodes, all the years ago at this point, I was like, I love Waxer. Waxer's my boy. And he even had He even had a cartoon of Numa on his helmet.
Yeah. Oh
It's
man.
just, oh my gosh.
And then this episode was just like, haha.
Yeah, psych.
Yeah.
He's gone.
You thought.
Goodbye. I know.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was looking at our bracket that we did for the Clone Wars episodes. I'm like, I want to see where, how well Carnage of Krell did, because I feel like we did it dirty. We did not do it dirty. It survived 3 rounds, and it lost to the Lawless. Never mind.
Lawless. Yeah.
If there's ever an episode for Carnage of Krell to lose to, Big Sad lost to even bigger Sad. So,
yes, that is.
Though
true.
I think I did vote against it in the first bracket. So, whoops.
I don't doubt that. Yeah, I think I was championing.
Yeah, you were defending that.
That
I
episode.
don't blame you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, that's a lot of my notes. I'm just gonna again reiterate. This arc, it's not bad. I don't dislike it. There are some arcs that, like, you know, there's some stories in Star Wars. They're like, there are 2 meters for me. Like, there's like how good it is and how much you enjoy it. You know what I mean? Those are 2 separate barometers.
Yeah.
There's stuff that you like, but you don't think is very good. There's stuff that you like and think is very good. And then there's the rare one, that stuff you think is very good but don't like that much. Umbara's in that 3rd category, where it's like, there's some good stuff in there, I just don't enjoy watching it.
Which is fair.
Not all Star Wars is for everyone.
Yeah.
I have an interesting taste. I'm like, I literally wrote in my notes, I'm completely fine letting others enjoy their Revenge of the Siths and their Umbaras and their Rogue One. I'll just be over here with my Deserters and my Rise of Skywalkers and my Martez sister arcs and my Resistances, just chilling.
Yeah. I mean, like, we all have, like, our specific arcs that really speak to us. Like, Umbara has always held a special place in my heart. And, you guys know it's because clones are my thing. I love clones. But, like, I don't like droids. So, like, there's that whole arc where they run into Gregor. I literally only watch the Gregor episode. Like, I don't watch anything surrounding it.
I actually will admit to you, that's a weird arc for me, because I've watched the first episode of that arc like 6 times. After the first episode of that arc, I'm like, okay, that's good. I don't really feel any needed reason to watch the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th of that arc.
If I can admit, make a confession, I actually first met Gregor in Rebels because I had skipped that arc for so long and watching the Clone Wars that I never met him.
Yeah.
So you didn't
the
even...
longest time being like, who the heck is this guy?
So did you get, like, were you not able to get through it, or did you just not even try?
I wasn't able to get through it.
Actually, I'm gonna be completely honest.
Look, you know yourself.
The Gregor episode of the Droids arc, really that 2nd half of the Droids arc, I'm not sure I've watched any of those episodes all the way through. So, to be completely honest with you, there are episodes
that you
For me, like, one of those uber specialization arcs for me, that nobody talks about this arc, and everybody should. We're covering it on one of our other pre-records that we're going to do in a couple days. Mon Calamari. That arc is genius. That arc is genius. Nobody talks about it. It's great. It is quite possibly my favorite arc in that season.
Wow. Also season 4, no?
Yeah, it is also season 4.
Wow.
Yeah, I will take Mon Cala over Umbara. I'll take it over Night Sisters. I'll take it over everything. I will take it over everything in that season. Maybe not Bounty Hunters. The Bounty Hunters one is the only one I might be willing to budge on. But even that one, it only gets good in the 3rd episode. Hot take. But okay.
Just full of hot takes.
Yeah.
Me over here, like, I have 2 clones I don't like.
if Andrew from Outer Rim Reads was here, he would be talking about the takes that are hotter than his coffee right now.
Oh, I love
that. Yeah. Anything else about Carnage of Krell before we get to everyone's favorite part of Star Wars in the Galaxy?
Man, this episode is so good,
Yeah.
Krell's even, I feel like we've even skipped over some of the whole chase scene, but there's just so many amazing moments, and I've kind of held back from talking about it because I know Eli at least doesn't share my love for it, but I just feel like the battle scenes in
I'm
this
right here. I'm
Go,
right here.
go,
are just
go. We did this with Genosis.
they're
I was
mind-blowing.
fine.
And it's not even the battle scenes, just the little moments, the music, the musical cues they put in there, just the like that moment when the clones all file in and they're surrounding Krell, and then he slowly turns around. That is just like, that is heart stopping. Like, and like, there's so many of those little moments. I could probably spend another hour if I were to list them
honestly
all.
Like, there were a bunch of little moments that I like wrote in my notes, like Kix. I've mentioned him a couple of times. He's one of my favorite clones. I absolutely love this boy. And like, I love that we get through this arc, Kix is kind of our viewpoint for the emotional trauma that Umbara is putting on the clones, because you see that scene of him go off on those Umbara monsters, for creatures, whatever, for eating a dead clone trooper. And he just like takes off firing, and you're like, oh wait, that's a clone medic. And then later on, you see him literally just like firing blind. And Rex has to be like, Kix, 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 you have to stop. Like, you're wasting ammo. And so I feel like... What?
He's wasting ammo? Everyone seems to have unlimited ammo in this arc.
I know.
Like, in every arc, but this arc specifically, I couldn't help but notice, probably because I was so bored in the first episode. But like, everybody has so much ammo, it's ridiculous.
But yeah, like, they use Kix to kind of show us like how much the clones are not just like physically suffering under Krell's, I want to say, control of them, but it's doing like legitimate emotional and psychological damage to them by making them break their own protocols and break their own, like, designations. Kix is a medic. His job is to go in and like rescue the troopers that are still alive that can be made functional again. And he's firing pot shots to try and like save dead bodies.
now you're talking about emotional trauma, and now the score piece, the Williams piece, Anakin's dark deeds from Revenge of the Sith. Slap that bad boy over Carnage of Krell. I want to see it.
Oh my god!
I might make an edit.
I mean,
please do.
and oh my gosh, Krell's, even after when they've captured him, and when Rex comes in, he's like, turn around against the wall on your knees. I'm gonna kill you now. Just his little eye roll, and then everything he does, he still thinks that the clones are not going to be able to kill him, and he's right about Rex. I don't think Rex was not willing to do that, and it ended up being
Dogma.
Blanking name, Dogma.
By the way, did anyone else want to hear that completion of Krell's sentence? Eventually, he'll just have to do the right thing, and boom.
I mean, I think that just...
What was he going to say?
It's a perfect ending, though, if you think about how... Was that the right thing to do? That's a whole other... I
also want to know the fate of Dogma, too. I hope he doesn't get jailed by the Republic for that.
He disappears. We never see him again.
He disappears.
I wonder if he just...
Dave, what are you doing? Why are you making characters disappear? First it's Dogma, now it's Barriss. What's going on, Dave?
Playing the long game.
Yeah.
10 years from now, we're gonna get a Dogma comic.
There's gonna be something cooked up.
6 years from now, we're gonna finally find out what the heck happens to Barriss. Watch, 20 years from now, we're gonna finally find out if Ahsoka was dead or alive in The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh my gosh.
Oh god.
And of course, the inevitable, 50 years from now, we're going to finally get that goddamn Rebels sequel series.
Please. I need it in my life. I need it.
We deserve this.
There is a Rebels-shaped hole in my heart.
Yes.
Still.
Yes. Like, please. Like, I would give anything for, like, give me 3 episodes of Jason Syndulla and Poe Dameron arguing about who has a cooler mom.
Yes!
Wow.
Please, I need that energy right now.
Yeah, I mean...
And by the way, in my arrogance, and not arrogance, but in my confusion, I almost thought of... I thought you were talking about not Hera and Shara Bay, but Hera and Leia. And I'm like, What?
I said, wasn't I though? But no, like Poe has two awesome moms.
Yeah, I was about to say. I'm like, but wait, I just made another good point there. Yeah. 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 Okay. I think it's time to get to everyone's favorite part of Star Wars in the Galaxy. Here we go. Also, by the way, speaking of Rebels ending, if there's ever a gift to be made out of anything said in a galaxy, and luckily it was said on the live stream, I'm going to make this into a GIF and I'm going to post it on Twitter as soon as I get the chance. It is a Jacob moment. It is maybe my favorite Jacob moment in the history of the show.
Uh-oh.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do know exactly what you're talking about.
But who wants Rebels to end?
Yeah, just
Go
live
back
it.
to our live stream.
I'm advocating
for. It is one of my favorite things I've ever seen Jacob do. It was the best thing. It was so good. I even used it in one of my later arguments.
I'm just gonna from now on, I'm just gonna advocate for full reality denial of the fact that Rebels ever ended.
Yeah.
In my mind, it's just been delayed. It's just been delayed because of the pandemic. It's coming. It'll happen.
Yeah. Both of you are going to watch in 2 hours from now. I will have A, made a GIF. B, posted it on Twitter. That is what is going to happen.
Turn on my Twitter alerts now.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome. Wait, I gotta
One
call one
last
of my
moment.
favorite Star Wars characters.
Go ahead.
It's gonna be great.
One last moment before we go into a 1/4 portion. I just have to add, I think one of the most underrated, heartbreaking moments is when Rex at the very end just says, I can't remember exactly, something along the lines of, "What was this all for? We lost so many good men, and why?"
It's time for everyone's favorite part of Star Wars in the Galaxy.
What you've brought me today is worth 1/4 portion.
Oh, Eli always goes.
I've
so
done this
deep.
for 57 episodes so far. Great stuff.
The,
Okay. So we decided to throw out all pretenses during our pre-recording sessions. We're going to do the same 1/4 portion for every single one of them because I'm lazy. We're doing a 1/4 portion segment that called Quick Rank. So what we have, Jacob and I have 2 categories each. We're all going to go around. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot too much. We're going to give our top 5 of those categories.
Okay.
Jacob, do you have your first one?
Yes, I do. I have it
Okay,
right
go
here. Nessa, since you're our guest, you can go first if you want. So, what are your top 5 Star Wars ships? Spaceships, not ships.
Aww.
Yeah, that's say.
Too. Maybe that one's more fun. I don't know.
Can I do both?
I only have one.
Yeah, do both.
That
do
list
both.
is going to be very short for me, but okay.
So my top 5, I'll start with, the physical ships that people fly. And you'll have to forgive me, I don't actually know that many ships. But
It's all good.
the Ghost is my number 1. Millennium Falcon. And then I love Venator class. I love those. Naboo Starfighter. And Ahsoka's Starfighter.
Yeah.
Or little one. Yeah.
That's a good one, yeah. I love the paint job on that one. Okay.
You go.
What about
I'm
your top
still
5?
figuring.
Ships.
And then my ships. Okay.
Ships.
Okay. Number 1 would probably be Canera. So Kanan and Hera. Number 2, boy.
You gotta mention.
Who do I
I
have?
hoping you mentioned number 1, but okay. I only have one ship that I'm into. There's only one for me, so hoping you mention it.
Number 2 is Obi-Wan and Satine. Number
Okay,
3 is Amidala. Anakin and Padme. Oh my god, who else do I ship? I'm really bad because I ship like everything. Brain is blanking. Number 4, I'm gonna go ahead and say, like, maybe this is a hot take, the whole trio from the sequel. So Rey, Finn, and Poe.
Interesting. Maybe something specific going on there. I don't know.
Yeah, who
Sorry,
knows?
I'm trying to get you to. Okay, never mind.
And then Han and Leia.
Okay.
That's my 5.
See, mine for the romantic ships is completely boring because there's only one. It's Finn Poe. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only one I care about.
That's totally fair.
Yeah. I love Rise of Skywalker. When they didn't do it, I was so disappointed. I'm like, you had every single opportunity.
Honestly, though, they should have just done it.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to believe they still have room for it somewhere. Yeah. Top 5 ships. I'm just blanking because this Jacob designed a top 5 list for himself.
Hey, you do what you gotta do.
Yeah, do you, man?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with. I actually really love the Umbaran Starfighters. That might make it up there.
Cool.
I love U-Wings. I love going back to Knights of the Old Republic. I love the Ebon Hawk. Hot take: favorite ship is the Malevolence. So
right.
Best ship to be wasted in only 3 episodes of the Clone Wars.
They did it dirty a little bit,
Yep.
It was so powerful, so majestic.
Or I will give an honorable mention because we gotta get some Red Skywalker love in here because that's what's been missing from this. Of course it is because I haven't been mentioning it for this entire episode. The Ziston class Star Destroyers, which are the Star Wars destroyers with the Death Star lasers on them. They're pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, I like them. I also love the name for the only one we get, which is the Darafan, which is the one that destroys Kajimi. That's an awesome name right there.
That is.
Okay. I guess Jacob, just do your next one, maybe.
Own?
Oh, actually, yeah.
Can I? Are we answering our own questions?
Yeah. Yes, we are answering our own. I completely forgot about that.
So for the spaceships, number 1, the Ghost. I'm a Rebels guy. I love Rebels. Number 2, the Republic gunship, the low altitude attack transport. It's awesome. Number 3,
and also what Republic generals drink.
What?
I said, also what Republic generals drink. The Lotties.
Oh, wow, nice. Good one. I was not expecting that. Number 4, the Y-Wing. Certain people on Twitter have brought me into the ways of the Y-Wing, and
yes. I'm going to call that guy out.
In all its many forms.
I know who he's talking about.
The legal geeks, one of those.
Thomas Harper. There we go.
Number 5, the V-22 Torrent Starfighter from the early seasons of the Clone Wars. It's the one with the cockpit and then a vertical wing going down under that and then 2 horizontal wings coming off at a 45-degree angle. I love when Cad Bane steals one. The way the wings fold out, it's a really cool ship, and I wish we would get to see more of it. In terms of actual ships, number 1 has to be Canera. Number 2, also OB-Teen, so Nessa and I have the same top 2. Number 3, Haunted Leia, classic. Number 4, this might be a bit of a hot take, but I think Zeb and Callus would make quite an interesting couple. I think that
hit it home.
Wait,
I know we agree on this.
I put this, and then I put the sequel love triangle for number 5, but chiefly among them, I think that Finn and Poe, were they bros? Was there a spark there? I don't know, but I think they had potential, and I think they would have been
that jacket scene,
a cute couple.
Honestly,
like when you play that in slow motion, like Poe is biting his lip so hard.
That's one of the biggest tropes is like shared clothes. So like for them to throw that in there, like
the jacket thing was so
it was so it was so sweet.
It was perfect.
Okay, number 1 for me. Let's talk about animated performances. Oh wait. Jacob was supposed to do his second one, but I guess I'll just we'll go back.
Jump in.
Animated performances. Top 5 animated performances in Star Wars, just generally as characters.
So you mean like the actor's performance or the character
actors.
Overall?
The actors.
Okay.
Performances.
Who's going first? Is it...
You want to go first? You have your list ready?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I have my 5. I think I could
Oh,
go.
you do? Okay, go ahead.
So this is really hard because I have a lot of love for all the animated characters. This actually isn't in any particular order, but first of all, I think Matt Lanter as Anakin. Got to give him credit. I think he did a good job of kind of building off of what Hayden Christensen set up, but also giving him
Lanter's. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
giving him some new directions to go in
Lanter's
as well.
not feeling too injured from carrying the entire character of Anakin Skywalker on his back. Am I wrong though? Yeah. Go ahead with your other 5.
My next pick would have to be Vanessa Marshall or Hera Syndulla. I absolutely loved Hera in Rebels, and I just thought that she had a lot of really great heartfelt moments, and throughout that Vanessa Marshall did a fantastic job. And then of course Taya Sircar for Sabine Wren, also Trials of the Darksaber, absolutely outstanding performance. Really loved that. And I have 2 more slots or 1 more. I can't remember.
Tia,
yeah,
Vanessa,
And Matt.
Okay, yeah.
and Matt, yeah.
So I think next I'm going to have to say Taylor Gray for Ezra Bridger in Rebels. I think Ezra often gets maligned for being a little bit immature in the start of
off the main cast of Rebels.
Yeah. In the beginning of the series he gets a little bit maligned, but I really think that he has a great increase in maturity through the show. He has a glow up, and Taylor Gray really does a fantastic job. So I love that.
A good list. I like it.
Okay, would people like me to share my list that I just came up with?
Do it.
Number 5. This is going to shock Jacob, I'm sure. Sam Witwer as Darth Maul. Let's talk about a character that I hate, but a performance that I adore. If there's anything that redeems Maul for me, it is Witwer's incredible performance. I mean, the lines, the dialogue that Maul was given, especially I just watched that episode Brothers from the end of... that dialogue is terrible. I hate it. I hate all of it. But Witwer makes it sound so utterly convincing. It's shocking to me how good he is. From this arc itself, I want to talk about Dave Fennoy, who voiced the character of Pong Krell. Never has an actor gotten me to hate a character that they play so much. Number 3, let's talk about one of the best Star Wars animated shows ever to come out. Let's talk about Star Wars Resistance and Susie McGrath as Tamara Revora. What a performance. What a performance. Man.
I'm very sorry to admit that I still haven't watched it.
It's so good, please.
I know. You told me to last time.
Not surprised at myself. I'm not surprised at all about myself. Number 2, curveball choice in here. Technically still an animated performance. Here we go. This is a weird one. Are you ready? Cameron Monaghan as Cal Kestis in Jedi Fallen Order.
Ooh.
Okay, can I jump in? I have Trilla on my list.
Oh.
I'm forgetting the actress name now.
Elizabeth Gulan.
Okay, good to know.
Yep.
And number 1, I cannot believe this was not on Jacob's list. You know her. I hope you love her, because if you don't, I think something might be wrong with you. Ashley Eckstein, number 1. Ahsoka freaking Tano.
Yeah, she was my 5th pick. I think I only said 4, but yeah, Ashley Eckstein was my 5th pick.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shall I read my list?
I don't think I need to explain.
Okay. So my number 1 was also Hera, Vanessa Marshall. That moment where she goes from basic to Ryloth accent lives in my head rent-free. Forever and always.
That is unmatched.
So good. Such a good touch. My number 2 is D. Bradley Baker. for literally holding entire episodes alone.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
mention.
know.
I'm like, I feel so bad about not including that on my list. I think Jacob's feeling some regret too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
definitely.
number 3 is actually for Ahsoka. I always think of specific episodes, and of course, that episode where they are with Plo Koon and they're going through the Balmora Run. Is that it?
Oh, yeah, it's Malevolence.
Yeah. And there's this scene where, like, Ashley is like, there's something about Ahsoka's voice that 100% gives away how young she is. And I always think of that, like, seeing how her voice grows with her. Ashley's a genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a good moment.
My number 4 is Elizabeth for Trilla.
Mm.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So fantastic.
Incredible performance.
I also have Sam for Maul. Because,
Yeah.
like, I liked Maul, but Sam made Maul.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
not.
Sam Witwer. Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's like, I feel a little bad for Ray Park when they replaced his voice in 1.
Yeah.
I don't feel any bad for Ray Park when they replaced his voice in Solo, because it was Sam Witwer. And if there's anyone who deserves to voice Maul, it is Sam freaking Witwer.
100%.
It is incredible, actually, how
Absolutely.
Sam has given some incredible voice performances to characters that I still hate anyway. Starkiller. Starkiller's another one, where Sam gives an incredible voice performance. I just still don't like Starkiller.
That's fair. And then I have
Yeah.
one honorable mention.
Oh.
Can we talk about Dave Filoni as Chopper?
King.
Of course.
If we're going down that same road, Dave Filoni is Embo.
Wait,
I
really?
love Embo.
King.
Embo is my favorite
King.
bounty hunter.
Bro, like,
He's up there with me.
Yeah.
Maybe Django first, but yeah.
Yeah. I just have this weird absolute like adoration for Embo. I don't know why.
I think he's the
When
one.
Embo was coming to Galaxy of Heroes, I flipped my lid.
Yes. I was like,
He's-
okay, we're gonna grind now, and I'm gonna get Embo.
Yeah.
I think he might be
flipped
the
my-
one character in Star Wars that I know of who does winter sports when he snowboards on his helmet in that one episode.
the Rise of Clovis.
What is everyone's top 5 Star Wars books? I was originally gonna make this novels, but you know, I had trouble coming up with that myself, so I figured it might not be easy for people to be on the spot.
Could this include like reference books?
Yeah, books, and if reference books if you want, comics
Because
if you
if
want,
this was
legends,
reference books, my
canon,
top 5
anything.
would be completely reference books. But okay. I'm a reference book junkie.
Top 5 Star Wars books, and I think these may be in order, but not necessarily. Wild Space. Love Wild Space.
Is that a Clone Wars spin-off novel?
It is.
Nice.
That was pulling from the back of my Star Wars recesses.
It's
Nice
Legends
job.
now, but-
I'm a Star Wars trivia junkie, and you pulled from like the way back in there. It's like those are the forbidden sections of the Jedi archives of my trivia memory. Nice job there.
So there are 2 on my list that are series, and it's because you can't pick one. The first series is Republic Commando.
Oh yeah.
My number 3 is Shatterpoint.
Oh yeah.
Number 4 is Jedi Apprentice.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I don't know if this one counts, but Dooku Jedi Lost.
It's an audiobook that's now in print format. So, yeah.
Perfect. But yeah, so that'd be my top 5.
Um,
Change all the time.
Jacob, you go while I think of a number 4.
All right, this is hard, and this is.
I'm not even gonna try it.
Oh gosh, this was really hard. I didn't think this through, but I think my number 1 would have to be the first Darth Bane book.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was just
Path of Destruction.
Path of
yeah.
Destruction, so immersive, so great. Number 2, Fate of the Jedi Outcast. I absolutely loved getting to see the Keldor and that the Keldor Death Order when they're all living underground and they think that they're dead and everything. Oh my gosh. Number
That is a
3,
legendary book.
the first canon Thrawn book by Timothy John.
Oh my
Legendary.
god, that's crazy.
Number 4, the canon Princess Leia novel by E.K. Johnston.
Mm.
And number 5,
Claudia Gray.
Claudia Gray. Oh my bad. My
Mhm.
goodness, Claudia Gray. And yeah, my number 5 is gonna have to be Master and Apprentice, the Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon novel.
I still need to
Also
read
by
that.
Claudia Gray.
She's fantastic.
Yeah, she's awesome. Bloodline is incredible.
Ooh, yes.
Which is one of hers that I've read. I'm going to have to BS my way out of a number 4 because I do not have a number 4 pick. Yay. Shoot, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Okay. I'll do this. Number 5, I'm going bottom up. Number 5, gotta talk about from a certain point of view. Number 1. Yeah, that. Number 4, I gotta talk about the making of Star Wars.
Ooh.
Like the original, what's his name? Jonathan Rinsler book, about the making of A New Hope. Stuff in there is crazy. Number 3, Jacob, you might find this familiar. Thrawn 2017 by Timothy Zahn. We have the same number 3. For number 2, I must ask both of you a question. Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Darth Plagueis by James Luceno. And number 1, in a surprise to absolutely nobody, let's talk about Ultimate Star Wars.
Wow.
The ultimate reference book. The new version, too, with the previews for Rise of Skywalker. That one. The first one was incredible. The second one's on another level. So those are my 5 picks. Finally, I got one more before we end this behemoth of an episode. Top 5 Star Wars dark side figures. Now, here's what I mean. I mean people who are on the dark side who are not Sith.
Ooh.
Canon or Legends. People who use the dark side of the Force who are not Sith. Okay, here we go. Number 5. It's not a person, it's a group. I'm going with the Knights of Ren.
Ooh.
They can indeed use the Force, and they're pretty deadly, even though we don't really get to see them a lot in the movies. Number 4, we gotta talk about Supreme Leader Snoke. There's been an awakening, if you felt it. Number 3, Mother Talzin. For obvious reasons. Mother Talzin. Number 2, who was going to be originally number 1 until I figured out a loophole. Number 2, Kylo Ren. Number 1, due to a brief usage of the Force in the Darth Vader comic, I can now qualify Ochi of Bestoon for this category. Which is why he is my number 1. There we go, I've done it. I've dropped Ochi in here. Episode is done. We're good.
You did it.
I've done it. Ochi of Bestoon. You're welcome.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
My number 5 is gonna have to be Savage Opress. I know not everyone here likes him, but I like him. I think he certainly has his moments, and I think he has a very tragic story in the Clone Wars, but it's still one that I think was well worth telling, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Number 4, Quinlan Vos, when he was on the dark side. I thought he had quite an interesting journey.
Legends or canon?
I've kind of conflated the two, I think. So I'm going to go with Legends, because that's probably going to give me more leeway in case I'm wrong.
No, he's in both. He's dark side in both.
Okay, good. Yeah, but yeah, I still think I've experienced more of the Legends.
There's
version.
Undercover Voss and there's Admiral Enigma Voss. I don't know much about Admiral Enigma.
No, it's Undercover Voss, actually.
Okay, so Legends.
Yeah, Legends. And number 3, I'm gonna go with the Grand Inquisitor. I really like how maybe he was a Jedi before, we get that one line drop in season 2 of Rebels, but we never really know. Number 2, Mother Talzin. I know maybe she's not completely evil. I know a lot of people have a lot of love for the Night Sisters, and so do I, but I think she is.
She uses the dark side.
I think she's a dark sider.
All that matters.
She does some pretty despicable things in some books. And my number
tries to suck the soul out of somebody in season 6.
Yeah, and number 1, Ventress, no contest. Even though she's not completely dark side for all of the Clone Wars, I think her as a character overall, easily number 1.
Easily.
Let's talk about 4 entries of sequel content on my list and 0 entries of sequel content on Jacob's list. If that says nothing to you, then you're wrong.
So Asajj is also my number 1, because yes. My number 2 is, again, Trilla. I love her.
Ah, yes. The Great Trilla.
The Great Trilla.
The Great Trilla
And I
series.
have another Inquisitor as my number 3, the 7th sister from Rebels.
Yeah. Underrated character.
Truly.
She gets lumped in with the other worse Inquisitors, and it doesn't do her well.
No.
Just because the 5th brother and 8th brother weren't able to do jack shit.
She tried.
Doesn't mean that 7th sister, who is totally not Barriss.
Yeah, totally not Barriss.
Yeah.
My number 4 is the Sun.
Mm-hmm.
I was considering putting him on the list.
Yep. And my number 5 is possibly bending the rules a little bit, but it's Depa Billaba.
Legends. That counts.
Yep.
Yeah. I was about to put the Sun on my list, but then I'm like, okay, this one's gonna tick off Jacob. This one's gonna tick off Jacob. I'm like, oh, I can't put the Sun on this one. The Sun's gonna tick off Jacob too much. I'm going to make an entire list that's just gonna be a giant F you to Jacob. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Please, please don't censor yourself on my behalf. That's the last thing I would want. You know this.
I also just thought of better examples, really. That's really what it was. I just thought
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Sun's number like 7 on this list or something for me. I don't know.
That's fair.
Anyway, that's going to be it for this behemoth of an episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy. This is the longest recording we've ever done. But I enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah. I had to top last time.
Yeah, that was the longest recording we ever done.
It was.
Up until that point as well, actually. Anyway, make sure to follow us on Twitter at @InAGalaxyPod, Instagram at Star Wars in a Galaxy. You can listen to us on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts. We will be there. Leave a 5-star rating and review. It really does help. Email us at swinagalaxy@gmail.com. Next week, let's see what's next week. Next week, we are going to be watching, I think it's Nigeria, actually.
Ooh,
it indeed is Nigeria. Kidnapped slaves of the Republic and escape from Kadavo. I know Jacob's gonna have a lot to say about that arc. Yeah, until next time, may the Force be with you. Always.